Welcome back, sports fans. Hope you're well. This is Moving the Needle podcast, and I'm stoked. We have been threatening to do this for a while, and I don't even know how I've managed to get Aaron Gwin to sit still because he's not a man that likes to sit still. He's got a lot of hats, a lot of fires in the what do they call them? Freaking knives in the fight, I guess.
Irons in the fire, yeah.
Yeah, it's irons in the fire. There we go. So you even better at English than me at the moment, even though you got a lot of things. But dude, thanks for making the time because we're recording this the morning after the Tennessee National, which I was privy to watch some of the race runs already. It hasn't even gone live yet, so that was awesome. But dude, there you go. You're a five-time overall World Cup winner. You don't need to be doing a lot more in the sport, but here we are talking about you still racing at the top level and being a race promoter, and you decided to do those things at the same time.
Yeah, it's a lot going on for sure. We were just joking off air. I was like, I like running mountain bike races and I really like racing mountain bike races. I'm not sure that I love doing both at the same time. Yeah, it's been a lot of work, man. It's been busy. Thanks for being patient. I think I've been bailing on you for almost a year straight, trying to find a date and a time that worked for this. So thanks for pulling through. But yeah, man, I'm pretty chill right now, to be honest. It's pouring rain outside. We're here at the bike shop this morning at the bike park, and I think Canyon's doing a big bike launch with their new downhill bike, and people are still riding. But I'm hardcore chilling at the moment. Lauren and I just went to breakfast and woke up late and rolled into here late, and just kind of hanging today. So it's very nice to be it was really cool, the event yesterday. Like it was so cool. Everything went perfect, I feel like. I even rode half decent, which was sweet. And the weather held off till today. But I'm like so happy that we're kind of done with this right now, because it's been, I don't know, 4 to 6 months of work every day trying to get this ready. And the national is like, the event's big, but it's also the first race of the year for the team and all that stuff. So it's just like this hard deadline of like everything we have going on needs to be ready for that date. So now that that date was yesterday, I'm feeling pretty good.
I can imagine, man. Yeah, that's a really big lift. You've gone through a lot of changes and acquiring the bike park. I've been super interested in following along, and you enjoy being in the digger yourself. Like you got to add track builder to this as well, and I can see that your vision was shining through on the course, like especially the finish sort of minute, those fast jumps, like that to me sums you up, like your raw fast style. So how passionate are you about really delivering something that you would want to ride, that you feel that can prep people for, well, now I say the World Cups, but we'll dig into that later of, which series you're going to run. And to me, that's a World Cup level track.
Yeah, for sure. I think yeah, you touched on trail building. Man, I've loved working on building trails and building jumps since I was, I don't know, 4 years old. Just a little tyke. Um, from when I very first started racing BMX, I remember like I grew up out in the desert, so it was really dry. It never rained, and one day it actually rained, and my parents were like, "Grab the shovels, we're going outside, we're building jumps," because it was like right when I started. So we had a little track that started in my yard, and I always joke, I'm like, by the time I was 15 or 16, I completely annihilated every inch of our yard growing up. Everything had a jump or a berm or like something. There's a moto track around the outside and bike jumps. And but anyway, so I've just loved building trails and jumps since I was a little kid. Like I enjoy building trails almost as much as I like riding them. So being able to get the bike park and the opportunity to build trails here and do that was definitely why I tried to pursue this project, because I love doing that. Unfortunately, when you're trying to run a bike park as a business and it needs to like make enough money to stay alive, I find that I am more valuable pursuing other things and writing emails and doing behind the scenes stuff and letting the trail builders be the trail builder guys. So I don't do as much as I want to or I would like to. Hopefully someday I'll be able to have more free time to sit in the excavator and build trails. But for the most part, the trail guys do that now. And but Jeremy is our head trail builder, and him and I, like every year we make a point to like go down the racetrack together. He sits in the excavator, I stand there, and I'm like, I'll move the rock a little more like this. So let's do it, like, because between the two of us, we can really build some cool stuff. So that's by far my favorite part of owning the park is building trails. I'm a rider, so as long as the racers come and they enjoy the racetrack, I'm stoked because that's what I'm all about. So all the other details are definitely important, but you know how it is as a racer. If people show up to your race and they think your track sucks, then you're like, what the heck am I even doing? So I was really happy people enjoyed the race course, and it was really good. Sorry, it's probably loud. It's hammering rain here, and we have a metal roof on the bike shop, so it gets a bit nuts.
It's authentic. You're in the bike park, in the bike shop. It's piss and rain. The race had some rain, but yeah, it is a lot of pressure. Like you've got the pressure to perform as a racer still. I was lucky enough, on enough to do a signature downhill, put my name to one. And thank God trail builders are so good because I can point and move,
Yeah,
and I'm also like, rather let the skilled guys do what they do best. But you're hoping people come away with enjoyment, right?
yeah,
It's one thing building a track like, okay, it was technical, but you want it to ride well. You want people to do laps on it, right? And from
yeah.
what I could see, like it raced well, but I think it would have ridden well in practice.
hmm Yeah, it's a really fun track. I think, yeah, you know how it is. Like sometimes you go to a track and you're like, man, that was a good race course, but like, I'm not trying to ride Val di Sol on a Wednesday. Like, I'm like, nah, my favorite racetrack,
Or
but
Fort William on a Tuesday.
yeah, you're just like, yeah, it's a race course, and I'd rather just not touch it the rest of the year. But for us, I mean, because I ride and train here a lot as well, it's like you want the track to be fun to ride as well as fun to race. And the thing that is really tricky is for the Tennessee National, for all of our races here, it's not like it's a World Cup where you just have World Cup guys. Like we have Cat 3 12-year-old girls and Cat 3 65-year-old men, and me and Amaury Piron all racing the same track. So to build a race course that is fun and challenging, but also as safe as you can make it, it's a really tricky thing to like do all that at the same time, like build jumps, build sections, build go arounds, things that are going to flow and kind of work for everybody. Because the difference between like, me riding a certain section in the dry versus like a 12-year-old kid riding that same section in the mud is like a very vast difference in like skill and terrain and whatever. So that's something I enjoy. I feel like I can see where speed carries really well when I look at tracks. I kind of know where the problems are going to happen for each class, each skill level of rider. I know where the issues are going to occur. So as much as I possibly can without like vanillaing out the entire race course, I try to like build a track to where if you do have a crash, likely it will be a smaller one. It won't be like some huge thing. And if it rains, you have some options for each rider where there is a safe option. So yeah, building a race course, man, is tricky, but making it fun for sure. Like a track that I want to ride, and I want to be able to ride the racetrack all year when I'm testing with our other trails here. So like you said, the bottom part of the track, we're calling it the Red Bull Ravine. It's like a sponsored line, and it ends with that big Red Bull drop. But it's like a really fun line to ride, and it like basically all the trails you ride on the mountain, you can funnel into that trail at the end when you're done. So it's like I don't know, when you can start and end your laps with like some cool jumps and some cool flow, it definitely makes like pounding laps all day like more fun for sure.
Yeah, it's a good strategy for a bike park. I'm taking notes as well. We just put something at the bottom because some people don't want to pedal to the top, or like you say, what's the last memory you have when you put your bike back in the
Yeah,
car, right?
for
That's
sure.
pretty cool. But this so Tennessee National, I mean, it makes me think of Moto, right? Calling it the Tennessee National. It clearly came a bit like, creatively from that. And did you think it would become what it is now with these top pro teams turning up already? How did that happen? Did you cold call a few of them? Like, how did it become what it is?
Yeah, a few things. I can't take credit for really the Tennessee National at all. Like Nico and Sean started this race, I think, back in 2017 or something like that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And they've had a lot of big name riders come here over the years when they're testing early in the preseason. And so for us, when we took it over and ran it for the first time last year, we just wanted to kind of like bump it up a little bit each year, just try to make it a little bit better. I've got amazing partners at Red Bull. They've been personal sponsors for a long time, but they've also been supporters of the park here for years, even before I came on. So when I took over the park and I had meetings with Red Bull and was like, "Hey, this is my vision. This is what I like to do," like they were super supportive and excited. So For them to come on board as like title sponsor this year, now it's like the Red Bull Tennessee National, and like this is our event logo right here, and it's like to have that logo all over the hill is it's crazy. It's kind of a dream come true. But yeah, as far as top riders, I think we've always had like every single top US guy comes here. It's like the perfect preseason race. This track is really good. Windrock's kind of become like the mecca for year-round World Cup training, especially like in the wintertime, because we have really good terrain, really like rough, gnarly tracks. It's very similar to like what you would find in Europe, probably the most similar conditions that you'll find in the States that's open all year. So I mean, I bought a house out here 3 years ago just to come here, ride and train. Dakota lives down the street. Nico rides here a ton. Luca and Crispy live over in North Carolina, so they come here and ride a lot. Austin Dooley just bought a house here to live and train with his family from California. They moved out. The Oscards just bought a place, so those girls live out here. So a lot of people are moving here just to ride and train at Windrock. So it's we've always had those riders, and then the top riders kind of big credit of that I would say is to Shram. Shram's been a great partner of the park for a long time as well. Before I came on board, but they did their whole preseason test camp here this year, so they flew all their riders out Canyon and Muck Off and the Commons all teams, all that stuff. So it was really cool, and they all had a great time. I think it's kind of like the perfect place if you're looking for a preseason place to come do suspension testing and dial things in and do a preseason race on a good track before the World Cup start. It's like it's timed out pretty perfect. So yeah, man, I think uh, it'll be interesting because I think we had a lot of big names here this year and a lot of big media here as well, and I think everybody had a great time and kind of realized like what Windrock's turning into. And so yeah, I'm just super thankful. There's so many brands and so many people that were so kind to us and came out and kind of gave it a shot. And I feel like we did a good job, and they're excited and want to come back. And I just hope that we can kind of continue growing it and making it better, year after year.
Yeah, and was that a conscious thought? Because I know you got some sort of flack in the media for that. Remember that year on Specialized? Like I know there was some bike things and probably stuff I don't know about, but everyone was like, "Well, why is Gwin saying the bike doesn't work at a World Cup and he just did his testing in California?" But I thought that it wasn't necessarily you. I just thought the sport had evolved a bit. A lot more people doing like New Zealand in the preseason. A lot more people testing. Like I think it just evolved, and what worked in the past just didn't quite work. But then you made a big shift to like buy a place out on the East Coast to then do more downhill, right, for your career's
Hmm.
sake.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just like you said, I think the sport just elevates every year. For me, I felt like earlier in my career, living in California was actually a big advantage. Like, we might not have had the most realistic World Cup tracks, but I could ride a training program and do that program every single day for 6 months in the off season, not worry about weather or conditions or any of that stuff. Like, I could ride all the time. It was always sunny. Like, so when I was, to just get consistent, good training and riding in every single day, I felt like most of the guys I was racing with were really having a hard time with that. Like if you lived in Europe all winter, like now they've got all these spots over there popping up where people go ride and train and like stay that the weather is better, Portugal and these spots. But I don't think that used to be that popular. So it was like these guys were trying to ride in the mud and like ride crappy conditions and freezing cold weather every day through the off season. And I was at home riding every single day in perfect weather, and then we had our Fontana Winter Series that started up every January, and they're just local races, but it's a really technical track. It also is like a really long pedal, so if you're just trying to get fit and get time on the bike, like I'd have 5 to 7 races under my belt by the time I showed up at the World Cup. And I feel like a lot of the guys I was racing with had like maybe one because it was just the weather. They couldn't really even start riding till March or April. So I felt like it used to be kind of an advantage, but definitely the last like 5, 6 years, guys are just everybody is so all in. Like everybody's got trainers and coaches. They're all traveling in the off season or living places where they can ride more. So I think California is still great. Like Ryan Pinkerton, he's sitting on a picnic table right on the other side of this wall right now, hanging out while it's raining. But you still got some guys that live in California, but they spend usually at least a month or a bit more here at Windrock in the wintertime. They just fly back and forth to get this type of conditions and this type of training in. So yeah, the sport's just elevated to a point where you need a mixture of trails. You need to be able to ride and test and things that are realistic. And so I think for us, like Windrock it's pretty cheap out here. The cost of living, it's super mellow. There's zero traffic. It's really easy to just wake up every day and get your training in and go. There's a really nice gym down the street. It's a really easy kind of way of living. Like there's not a lot of distractions when you come out here. You can just ride and train. The vibes are really good. There's always fast people to ride and train with. So it's kind of becoming like this little mecca for up and coming World Cup riders or established World Cup pros that want to like train in the wintertime.
No, it definitely has, and I've been thinking about that a lot. I think, as you said, those 6 years ago or whatever, like I feel sometimes there was a warm up European race, and in the first World Cup, everyone was kind of like finding their feet, and you could see a few guys that had the prep, really good. Like someone like Greg back then, I think sometimes, unless it was Maritzburg, might suffer at the first race, but by 2, 3 races in, everyone was kind of like, cool, we're up to speed, we got our touch and feel on the bike. Fitness was never a problem, right? All the top guys had that, but I feel like it's really just moved on. Like that first race at a World Cup, as you said, everyone's got obviously the training now. No one doubts who's fit and who's not. But they're either in New Zealand or, like you said, they're in Portugal, or now the US guys have places that you have Nico are helping with. It's super interesting with the sport. It's like I think it's just like clicked over to that motocross supercross model. Like no stone is left unturned. And
Yeah,
if you're not ready at the first World Cup, good luck, mate, cracking the
yeah,
top 20 or 30.
for sure. Yeah, now we have races here that are good, like Rock Creek, the bike park that Nico owns in North Carolina. It's only like a 2.5 hour drive from here, and that's right near like Pisgah National Forest and all that stuff, which is like epic mountain bike riding. They run races and like preseason. They just had their first round of the Downhill Southeast race out there a couple of weeks ago. That's a really good race series that Nico and his brother Logan put on. Really good tracks, really well run, organized. Same team basically that ran the National for us this weekend. We had the Tennessee National here this weekend. Next weekend is the Pro Downhill National, first race of that series. That's also going to be at Rock Creek, that same track. So it's like if you're here, you know, February through March, we also had a really good race, another Downhill Southeast race in near Chattanooga in Tennessee at the Trials Training Center like 2 weeks ago, a week ago. So it's like you can get like 3, 4 races in on really good tracks, February, March around here that are really well run before the season even starts. Like there's really good racing. So the tracks are good, but there's also good racing to do preseason, and it's easy. It's not like hard, stressful, hard to find accommodations, expensive, gnarly travel. Like things are chill here. The Knoxville airport's 30 minutes away. We have a Walmart 10 or 15 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. Like it's like pretty easy if you're trying to come out here and ride and do the thing. So yeah, it's really cool, man. We got so many people that are just passionate kind of in the Southeast out here about running races and doing this kind of stuff too. So it's a really good scene.
Yeah, no, it is, man. And so, how do you feel like having to run the race? Obviously, you trying to outsource as much as you can, and I know you gave props to your wife that people must buy her a snack, give her a hug, keep
Yeah.
her out the rain. Like I can see how passionate she is, and you've got this team, but there's no hiding that you are split attention trying to race. But you ended up on the podium. The weather conditions, I would argue, are not Aaron Gwin in inverted commas,
Yeah.
but clearly you're a lot more comfortable with those conditions this early in a year. But yeah, talk to me like where you at, satisfied, happy, building on it. Like what was it? What was it like for you on the bike side? People want to know about Aaron Gwin the racer.
Yeah. The bike side was crazy, man. It's been a really hard couple of years to be honest. Just the injuries, the elbow injury was way longer than I thought it would be. I was off the bike for almost a year before I could ride, like serious ride. Jumped straight back into the races last year. Wasn't really training much coming in. We were so busy, and kind of for the first time in my life, I was like a bit burned out on training. Like I trained really hard for the first few months after I got hurt, thinking I could get back in 3 or 4 months. And when it turned out this was going to be like an 8 month plus recovery, I was kind of like, all right, I'm just going to kind of take a breath and do some other stuff and get back to it. So now I feel like the fire is definitely burning again. but yeah, I had a good off season until the end of December, and I was doing a bunch of bike testing, and I've been having a problem with one of my fingers for like 2 years now, like a tendon issue that keeps flaring up, and it's actually from trail building, like swinging a rogo is how I messed it up, and just repetitive use, like riding. I'm just hard on my hands. I had like 3 or 4 fingers that had kind of the same issue happening, and a couple of them got better, and this one just was not getting better. And I got this like gnarly hard like nodule built up in my hand, and just my finger was like so painful when I was riding. And so I had some bike testing to do right before Christmas, and we wrapped that up. And I was chatting with my doctor that did my elbow surgery, and he's like, "Man, you really need to get that thing fixed. Like it's not getting better." So I was like, "All right." And it's supposed to be about a month heal time, and it ended up being about 2.5 months. Took a little bit longer to heal. So I've been doing some coaching the last couple months, and I've been riding around on the bike like a little bit really easy. I can ride like maybe 15, 20 seconds at a time, and then I just stop, and I just got to be pretty careful on it. So about a week ago, I actually called him. It was probably like 5 or 6 days ago, actually. And I'm like, "Hey man, like my hand's kind of sore, and it feels sort of like it did before surgery, where like it's not bad, but if I start riding previously, it would flare up and get really bad." So I'm like, "Is this thing gonna be okay if I start riding on it?" And he's like, "Yeah, you got to break the scar tissue up. You should be good. Like, let's just get it going." So I just started riding, like on Thursday last week was like my first day riding pretty much. I had a huge crash, my first run, biggest crash I've ever had here. I had just dumb move. I think I just got so much on my mind with the event. I dropped in, and James was like, "Hey, you got fresh brake pads in the rear. Just take it easy first lap." And I'm like, "Yeah, no problem. You do that a million times. Like you got to burn your pads in." There's like so many people at the park, and I just kind of got distracted just long enough to forget. And I had Richie and Luca behind me, dropped into the first steep section, went to get on the brakes, and was like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna stop." And I just grabbed the front brake as hard as I could, and just tucked the thing on this like ridge, and just got ejected out into the whoops, like or out into the woods, and huge crash. And so that was my first day back on the bike. And then I rode a little bit the next day, but I was like really sore. And then the race started. So I was like, and then on the race side, first day of practice, I was hanging banners on the track till like dark the night before, and just absolutely smoked from the days we've been putting in. So I go up for practice, forget my gloves, and none of this is usually like me. I'm usually pretty tuned in. I don't miss details, and forget my gloves, and I'm like, "All right, I'm just gonna roll down the track, check it out." I never actually walked the track or anything. Like I built the track, but I still didn't like. I put the poles in a place where they would be confusing to figure out lines, and never stood there long enough to figure out like what line I would do. So I was like, "All right, I'll just roll down, see where the lines are developing, get my gloves." So 3/4 of the way down first lap, tuck the front, just belly
Again,
slide on my hands, like rip my fingertip off. And I was just like, at that point, I was getting a bit frustrated, to be honest. I don't usually get very upset, but I'm like, I'm about to kick my helmet across the park and just be done with this. So it was not a smooth couple of days on the riding side. So yeah, I had 2 days on the bike since Christmas coming into this race, and qualifying morning, I was like 50-50 on if I was going to race. I was chatting with Lauren. She's like, "Hey, if you're going to race, you got to lock in. Like this is too dangerous to like be thinking about other crap and trying to race." And I was like, "Man, I'm just so tired and my head's not really in it." Like I was like, I'm going to just try to focus and do practice, see how it goes." And practice went pretty good Saturday, and I was like, "All right, I'll do seating and see if I'm relatively in touch. I'll just go from there, one race at a time or one day at a time." So I did seating. I think I was like 14th, but I was only like 4 seconds off the pace, and it was just a very smooth run. I'm like, I'm just gonna ride well within my limits. If I get my butt kicked, then it's fine. We'll be faster in a few months when it really matters. So did that. Seating was my first full run I've done on my hand, and it felt like decent. So I was like, that was good. So yeah, decided to race yesterday. Had a good morning practice. It rained a lot, which slowed the track down. I would say like you say, normally not my favorite conditions, but I think where I'm at right now, slowing the track down just a little bit, and living here and riding here for the last couple of years when it rains a lot and is wet, I definitely feel like I'm getting better in those conditions, especially here. I kind of know how it develops. So yeah, just had a really smooth run in my race run, and ended up being like a second off of the win, I think, which I got so close that I was a little bit annoyed. I was like, oh man, I think I could actually got that if I would have just pushed a little bit. But I just really wanted to be safe this weekend. Like it was, yeah, ridden the bike a couple of days. We're racing next weekend at Rock Creek, then Sea Otter. Then I got a gap after that I can really do some preseason testing, dial the bike in. We got some things to try, and my goal is just really to get ready for the World Cups. I think Leo Gang will be my first one. It's round two, the beginning of June. So I just starting to build from now till then is kind of the goal.
I did not expect that sort of preparation for this race. I
It's
did
not
not
great.
know. I did that. I would say that was less than ideal, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
no, it's crazy, hey, when you and that's why like bigger races is what you need, and these local races, like if you're not forced to like commit, you forget your gloves, or like you say, you forget to
Mm.
burn your brake pads in because you get a bit complacent. And I'm not surprised that once you committed and finals came, you could get that close, because I think you need the pressure and you need the focus. Otherwise, you allow yourself to worry if the banner's put up straight or something. So, dude,
Yeah.
mad props to you, for being able to do that. Like for someone with your career to be able to be giving back and still racing, and then still probably have the drive inside you. What does racing look like for you now? Like, where are you? Because you mentioned this motivation thing. Because I sometimes wonder, like, are you willing to put in the sacrifices you did to win all those titles? And like, there's no wrong or right answer. Like, of course, you're going
Hmm.
to get burnt out at times in a career this long.
Yep, for sure. It's a tricky balance, man. One that I've honestly always struggled with racing. I love riding my bike more than anything. As far as like hobbies and stuff go. I love training and putting effort into something at that level, I think. The racing part, as you know, is like always a little bit stressful. I've definitely learned to enjoy that and enjoy my race days and not be so nervous a lot more the last like 5 or so years. Like even when I was winning a lot, like race days were not fun until the race was over. Like
Yeah,
you were
man.
hanging out, but you were like you had a job to do. There's a lot of pressure, um, that I put on myself. I was so competitive. I wanted to do good and dominate and all those things, but it wasn't really fun until it was over. And the race results felt almost more like a relief than like a accomplishment at times. But as I've gotten
Even in
older,
the
I've
early
definitely,
years of your career,
yeah, for
like it was
sure.
a relief, even right in the beginning. Interesting.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and I remember that even when I was a little kid, like racing BMX and motocross. Like I remember waking up on race day, in our little camper trailer at a motocross national, and hearing the trailer next to us with the little Pee Wee 50 fire up and start revving the thing in the morning, and it would wake me up out of bed at 6 o'clock, and just being like, man, I want to be anywhere else in the world except for here right now. Like I do not want to do this. Just too nervous. And I've always been really good at managing the nerves. Like I can feel like absolute crap inside and still just lay down a run. Like it doesn't affect my performance, but it definitely affects my like the daily just like chilled out happiness a bit or used to. But yeah, I think after all the years, man, it's been up and down. Like I think a couple of years ago, I definitely had a little bit of a dip when I had my elbow, because it's been a really hard 4 or 5 years. Like the list of injuries and just the weird things that have happened, like back to back to back, like the scenarios that have led up to then finally having like a consistent year in 22 or whenever that was, podiuming pretty much all the last races, and then getting the new bike with Intense, having a year under my belt where it was like no crashing, everything was just really good. I'm like, all right, we're finally ready to like challenge for a World Cup title again. Like, let's go, we're good. I
And
can
you were
win
as
races.
motivated as ever then.
Yeah, had an amazing off season. Like finally things were turning around again where I was on the bike for more than a few months at a time. And then first race of the year, Switzerland, third practice run, did my elbow, was out for a year. And it was like we got this bike park during that time. I think part of it was boredom of being hurt and wanting to take on another project. But I was a little at a point where I was like, man, I still really want to race. I enjoy it more than I ever had, but I also feel like I could have walked away from it easier than at any other time in my career, where I was just like, if I have another opportunity that's good, and I can still ride my bike and race a little when I want to or whatever, like I might look at that. And I think after getting back on the bike after so long last year at a Canadian Open, I didn't race, but I did practice because it was like kind of my first couple days back on the bike. I don't, I just kind of like, I wouldn't say like fell in love with it again because I really loved riding my bike. Like things were going really good before I got hurt. But I think maybe I just appreciated it a little bit more. And I think I appreciated like the talent I have, the skill set I have, and the opportunity that I have a little bit more. Like once I qualified really good at Mount St. Anne, the last World Cup last year, and felt like I was like really close to winning World Cup pace again, which to me, with the preparation I had coming into that, which was almost nothing, I was like, man, I think I'm gonna really miss aiming at something at this level, or being able to do something at this level when it's over with. I've always been somebody since I was a little kid, whether it was BMX, motocross, now it's downhill. I just wanted to try to be the best at it. And I think when I'm done racing mountain bikes and I can't do something at that high of a level, or I don't have the thing where you wake up every day and you're like, we're going to the gym today and we're training and we're aiming at this thing. I'm like, I think I'm really gonna miss it because I'm built like that. It's like if I was gonna be in the military, I'd be trying to go into like special operations, or I'm just like, it's always been my kind of mentality and mindset. I just want to like, I really like aiming at something. And if it's competitive and it's physical, those are both big bonuses for me because I like that type of competition, or challenge. And so it's like, sending emails doesn't give me the same vibe, or it's like, not that I can't try to be great at other things outside of sports or something physical. But I don't know, there's something like, I don't know, as a man, maybe that, you're like, dude, when you can get in there and like go toe to toe at something like with yourself or somebody else, like I like it. So I think, it was funny. Nico and I were talking about this on the shuttle truck yesterday. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of realizing like if I can do this at this level for a few more years, like it would be really hard to walk away from it. Like I think I might regret it because it's not something I'll be able to come back to, 10 years down the road. Like it'll be done. Like I can go race masters or do something if I wanted, but it's not going to be the same. So I think for me, like I really just kind of appreciate what I have. I've done it since I was a little kid, really, and I think I'll miss it when it's gone. So it's kind of given me a bit of a perspective of like, you can challenge for wins at this level. Like, just get over your nerves and go race and enjoy it, dude. Like, it's not gonna last forever. So, I think that's given me a little bit of a revived, mature perspective, maybe over the last year or two that I didn't maybe have as much before.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And if you're even mentioning that, that is what you're gonna miss. That's what I miss. That's what I
Yeah,
struggle with. Everyone says, "Oh, you've
totally.
transitioned well," but I'll tell you honestly, like the fulfillment factor of getting up and chasing that one purpose, like you said, okay, today's the gym, then it's some downhill runs, and then you're just working towards this one goal, this one carrot, and there's something so simple and fulfilling about that.
Yeah,
And hopefully, I'll find something that really grasps. I've got a few things, irons in the fire, as I
yeah,
missed earlier. But that's what's interesting about you is, were you misunderstood? Because I swear, like when you were winning those titles, like the way you were portrayed in the media and maybe even us in the pits was like, you're going to win a few titles, you're going to earn what you're worth, and I respect you for speaking out about that, which I do want to ask you about.
yeah.
And I thought you would be done. Like I didn't know if you were going to ride bikes on the weekends when you were 40. It just didn't seem
Mm-hmm.
that way at the time. But were you misunderstood at that time in your career?
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I think it was always funny. I think I was, for one, I think I was a pretty shy kid. Like I was the only child growing up. I never had big friend groups. I had a couple of like really close friends. I just wanted to come home and ride my bike every day after school. That's all I ever did. I didn't care, And earlier in my career, I had a couple experiences with certain people in the media that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I think I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder on that side. Just it was immaturity on my point. I was just a kid, and couple things happened with some sponsors and stuff that I was kind of just like, I don't have time for this crap. Like, I'm just gonna go win races and try to dominate and whatever. I don't care about the rest of it. I'll let the riding do the talking, and don't need to like, but anybody that knew me on a personal level or ever stopped to have a conversation, they would all be like, oh, wow, he's a really cool, chill kid. It actually really surprised me. Like, I think when I was competitive, like, I was competitive, dude. Like, at the end of the day, I think now you see more of my personality blend with my racing. Whereas before it was like if I was with my friends, then I was this super chill dude. And if I was racing, like I don't care about making friends. I want to dominate and like
Yeah.
make the money I want to make and get the race wins. If we're going to put this money or this effort in, I think the money is like secondary just because I believe that it was appropriate for what I was bringing to the brands. It wasn't about the money. I grew up with not a lot of money. Like I didn't really care, but um, I was competitive and I wanted to win, bad. We've been struggling at this for a long time. I mean, people see me jump into downhill and do good, but I've been racing very competitively since I was 4. Motocross was a struggle, like a lot of injuries, a lot of money. My parents maxing out credit cards, a lot of stress. So for me, and I tell some of our juniors on our team now, or other riders I work with that kind of come in and they're having fun and they're like, yeah, I want to be really good at it. And you're like, do you know what you're like? Do you really want to be good at it? Because when I started racing, yeah, I was digging
Can you
ditches.
do what you're saying?
Yep, like for a septic company, literally in other people's crap in the summertime in Palm Springs before mountain biking. And before that, I was working as a motocross mechanic, living on a mattress on my buddy's floor, living out of a gear bag for a year. So when I had an opportunity to make a living at downhill, it was like to me like I was fighting for, like food on the table type of thing. Like it was serious. It was like you either have to make this work or you're going to go to school and do something else. And not that that wouldn't have been a good option. I think I would have been successful because of my mindset at whatever I went at, but it was like I'm not here to party and like have like to like let this opportunity slip by, so to speak. I already felt like the motocross thing didn't work out. I knew what that felt like. Then I went and got some really crappy jobs for a couple years. So when I had this like second opportunity that I didn't think would ever come back around to race something professionally, dude, I took it really serious. I didn't want to go back to something else. I wanted to make enough money to where I could just put everything I had into this thing I loved and let that be my career. And then, have enough to like transition into something I enjoyed down the road. So it was like really fighting for my career. So I think that kind of came across, and I, like I said, because that was so my focus and was a little bit more, less mature and had certain experiences where I was just not like, I don't know, maybe didn't care about media stuff as much, or I tried to be a nice guy a few times and kind of got burned and was like, all right, well, I just won't do that anymore. I'm just going to race and put my head down and kind of hammer. So, but yeah, long-winded answer to a question of like I said, I've loved riding my bike since I can remember, and I'll ride till I'm dead as much as I can. Like, I love doing that. The racing at times in my life is more the work part, but the passion for riding and building trails and doing that, like, dude, it's like the best thing ever. If it has wheels, like I'm stoked. So that's definitely never changed.
Yeah, I think you always back someone if they don't have a plan B. You know, if you've shown like some of the talent, like when I started those podcasts and your name came up, I was like, he didn't just like start mountain biking and was good at it. Like you've prepared your whole life to be the champion you are. And you've said it a few times. Some people are like, oh, I can't believe he won so early. I'm like, how many moto races has he had? How many BMX races has he had? Like, he clearly had something in them, but it just didn't work out in moto or BMX. Like, and it just makes so much sense that you had a bit of a chip on your shoulder. Like, if you've been doing septic tanks and you're like, I ain't going back there. Like, I'm
Hmm.
backing that guy.
Yeah.
Some of these other guys, like, maybe aren't subconsciously trying as hard as you. You were like, I
Yeah.
have no other option.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were just very good at cutting out the bullshit. Like, I respect you back then, and hearing that. And I had Fabian Burrell on the podcast, and he was also a bit misunderstood. Like, he just, the rules were written in gray, and he was like, well, I'm gonna paint in the gray lines in. And we were all like, oh, it's not cool to take your peak off, it's not cool to do this. It's like,
Mm.
he was there to win a race.
Yeah.
Like you actually are not there to make friends. So thanks
Yeah.
for sharing that. And I knew a lot of that, but it makes so much sense that you were misunderstood, like, and not fairly, and I didn't chat to you that much on the circuit because you weren't there to make friends, were you? You're like there to go do a job. And I don't blame you for that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think if anybody ever found me in the pits and said, "Hey," like I'd always have a great conversation. I had good friends
True.
in the
Yeah.
races, but I think I was just so quiet and kind of shy, and I think honestly it was I kind of stepped into a very unfamiliar world very quickly. Like I didn't know what a downhill bike was probably a year before I was racing World Cups. So like when I just popped onto the World Cup scene, I was coming from motocross that was like a cutthroat, super competitive, like high stress, especially with our situation. Before so that was like what I was used to in racing, and then came into mountain biking that was maybe a little more chill at the time. There's definitely guys taking it serious, but it was, not like it is now. And I didn't know anybody. Like this was like a whole new world that I just popped in and started racing. I'm like, yeah, I know who Sam Hill is and Greg Winnar, like, because I've watched their videos for the last year, but like, I didn't really know a lot of history of the sport. Like, I couldn't tell you who most of the riders were outside of the top 10. I didn't even know, like, when I rocked up to the first World Cup, like, what's a practice schedule look like? How do you qualify? I didn't know any of that. Like, so I was like kind of a new dude into the scene, and I just wanted to win, and I was really quiet. So I maybe yeah, it just came off a bit stiff. I think too, like when I did do interviews, I talk about my faith and certain things because that was just to me like that was me and that was my life. And I think people were like, dude, this is a weird kind of vibe into mountain biking to what we're used to, and so yeah, it was frustrating a little bit, for a couple of years. Like it was just kind of a bummer. But at the same time, like I said, I was like, well, I don't know. I was always pretty confident. I'm like, in time, like things will mellow out, people will understand, and I'll maybe loosen up, and it'll be like all good. But at the time, it was like, to me, I'm like, I don't go back to digging ditches and doing stuff. So if I can just be quiet and go about my work, it's less effort for me to not need to be entertaining every second of the day. Like I'm just gonna try to win and go back to work with the people I love and come back and try to win the next weekend, and that'll be enough.
Yeah, I'll never forget. Obviously, you did that Mount Sanan. That was the first World Cup I think you did, and you did some Colorado races on the Yeti program, and I know you had support through there. And then we go to Schladming at the end of the year. Do you remember this race? Your first time at Schladming,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So it starts raining. Now it's not the gnarliest track in the rain, but I think they still had a pretty good wood section compared to now,
Hmm.
and it's still wet. Like you're still putting spikes on, whether they cut spikes. And
Yep.
we're like, whatever, you qualified, and then the rain comes down. We're like, okay, well, it's raining, at least we got a shot here. And then you in the top 10, I feel like you got ninth, I got 10th, or maybe it was the other way around. You were like in the
Yep.
top 10. I just looked at everyone. I said, fuck, this guy can ride in the rain already. We have some serious problems on our hands.
Yeah.
And I just love telling that story because I was like, yeah, it's going to be a problem. If he can ride the mud already in Europe, I know he can ride the dust. I know he can ride Mount Sanan. That's kind of like a moto track.
Yep.
But yeah, the world needs to take note, and you backed it up. I'll never forget that, man.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy, man. I'd never been to Europe before that. Like, I grew up in a really small desert town in California, really small. It's like I don't know, a couple thousand people maybe, and not even a stoplight growing up, and I think a post office or whatever. So like going to Austria and those mountains and riding, like it was such a foreign thing to me. I remember being very stressed out about that wood section that you're talking about. It was literally the spot where I was like, dude, I don't know, like feel pretty good on the rest of the track, but that one section, like I hope I just survive it. and but yeah, put mud spikes on for the first time. Thankfully I had Sam Blinkensop and Justin Leo were my teammates at the time, and I'd been riding with them quite a bit in Colorado for the months leading up to that. Juzzo was like such an encouragement to me those few months, like first few years honestly of racing, and like kind of like, hey dude, like when I won at Snowmass a few weeks before, he was like, dude, you're ready. Like, that is the World Cup pace. That's a top 10 pace. If you do that at a World Cup, you'll be in the top 10. And I remember being like, really? Like, that's crazy. So I think they gave me a lot of confidence. They were really cool with letting me follow them in practice so I could kind of see the speed and see the lines and like kind of, like learn a lot quicker than I would have without them. Um, but yeah, I mean, Schladming was like a pretty moto-y track. Like it was fast, it was rough. Like I really liked line selection too. I still felt like that was, really a strength of mine early on. So the more the tracks were like that, I think it actually suited me, but I was scared to death of those couple root sections. Like but at the time I was running flat pedals. And so I was like, I'll just take a foot out and just slop my way through it. But yeah, Schladming was sick, and it was definitely crazy to like back up the top 10 at St. Anne with, yeah, whatever, ninth or whatever I got there. And I remember when I got back from that race, um, I went and saw Chris Conroy at Yeti in Colorado, where I was living at the time. I think like a few days after I got home, and sat down on his desk, and he's like, "Well, you want to go World Cup racing the next 2 years? Here's your contract." And I was just like, dude, like, people saw it as quick success, but for me, I'm like, I'd been trying to do that since I was 4 years old. So it was like, to me, I was like, about time. Like, holy crap, I finally like am gonna do this as a career. I think I was making 30 grand a year or something for the first couple of years I rode for them. So to me, that was more money than I'd ever seen. I think my parents collectively made just over that, probably, like when I was a kid growing up. Um, I was just like, it was insane. It was like, yeah, finally it happened. But at the same time, it was like, but we got work to do. Like, I want to try to get to where I can win these races. And so, but yeah, that was kind of the start of the professional dream kind of coming true finally.
And that's just from a kid? Like, were you just naturally competitive? Like, have your parents spoken about you at 3, at 4, at 5? Or because you got into BMX and moto, like, that's why you do it, is to win? Like, where does this competitive drive to, like, I want to be a world champion come from? So I don't think,
Dude,
I mean, I was clearly competitive, but I don't think I dreamt, like, I don't know, my goals were just incrementally going up, but I don't know if I ever just woke up and like, I want to be a world champion. I don't think I
yeah, I
did.
don't, man, I don't know honestly where my competitiveness came in. I think I probably got a bit of it from my parents. Um, my dad, like my dad was he always wanted to race street bikes, like motorcycles on asphalt, like growing up. But he never had the opportunity to do it. But like we had a old broken down dirt bike in our backyard ever since I could remember as a kid. He used to take me to school every day on the back of one of his motorcycles for a year or two when I was really small. We'd go to Laguna Seca and watch the sport bike races and flat track races, and like he was into racing. So I kind of like, yeah, getting on two wheels was something pretty natural for the family. My mom also rode street bikes with them before I was born. They both
Really? Your
surfed.
mom
Yeah.
did?
Yeah. And they were
That's
both
cool.
really into music as well. And they were both really good. Like my dad played trumpet, like went to, I think Mississippi State on like a full ride scholarship, played the trumpet and played in some bands that traveled the country. My mom played piano and wrote some music and recorded some albums and stuff. So they were both like pretty accomplished at other things. They're both in the medical field. Like that was like their actual real world job. But I remember like my mom was like, she was pretty cool as like she raced BMX with me when I was young and like would smoke the other moms. Like she was pretty sick on a bike. And I remember like we had a big race at one of our local tracks one time, and one of the moms was like full red line factory sponsored and the whole deal. And my mom just like just smoked her, and it was like it was awesome. And then she had a huge crash and then retired immediately. But so my mom was like good on a bike, good on a surfboard, like rode street bikes, like was kind of into all that stuff. And I remember like growing up and doing stuff like she'd push me, in a good way. And then my dad was the same way. Like he was competitive, like driven, like like he worked so hard for me. It's crazy as you get older, your perspective of what you realize like your parents go through
Yes.
changes,
It's insane,
and all
eh?
the things they told you, you're like, dang, they were right. But um, they my dad would come home from work every day and work on my dirt bike in the garage, and sometimes be like, oh, I don't have this washer or this pin that I need for your piston for your top end rebuild, so I'm going to drive an hour and a half to Chaparral Motorsports pick that up. I'll be home tonight at 11 or 12 and fix your bike so we can go ride tomorrow. And he'd get up at 5 and go work, and I'd go to school, and he'd come back. Like, he grinded. So I think just like their effort and their kind of talent and ability at certain things that they did that they were good at, I think, I don't know. I have to imagine that that played a part in like the competitiveness that I had to want to be good at things. And a bit of the pressure too with motocross was like my parents were willing to sacrifice as much as they did because I was trying to chase a dream, but they didn't really hide like, hey, if you don't want to do this anymore, please tell us, because we're like we're spending everything and more that we own to try to make this happen, and we are stoked to do it. But if you're not all in, like, please tell us. So there was a bit of like, okay, I need to take this serious. If I'm saying I want to race professionally, they're going to try to help me, but I need to put everything into this because they're sacrificing a lot. And naturally, that was it. Like, I lived with a motocross trainer when I was like 15, 16. This guy, Mike Fedoro, I would say he was like pretty influential on me during those years. He was really cool. My parents started paying for lessons and coaching like once a month. I would do a 2 hour lesson. That was what we could afford. And it changed like eventually to like once every 2 weeks. And then we got to the point where it was like, man, Aaron needs more coaching than we can afford. And Mike, I think, saw my ability and my potential and was like, hey, if you'll come work for me, I'll train you for free. But like, I'm building a new house. It needs a lot of work. There's a bunch of yard work, and I've got some buddies that need like, it was just all hard manual labor, weed whacking and digging holes and doing stuff that was just that kind of stuff. But he's like, yeah, if you'll work, I'll take you to the track and I'll train you every week. And, he lived in Lake Elsinore at the time, or Marietta, which was close to the tracks. And so I started doing that. So it kind of just created an atmosphere where it was like I needed to be all in on my success because I had to work really hard for it. And it kind of built this competitiveness in me where when I showed up at the races and saw people not working as hard, like I knew what I was doing during the week to get there compared to other guys. So it kind of like bred this like I gotta like survive when I go race, like do good enough. So I don't know where the competitiveness really came from, but I definitely remember from a young age being very competitive and just being like, whatever I'm gonna do, I just want to try to be the best at it. I don't know that I did even knew what that meant. I just was like, that was my goal. Like, I'm not gonna waste time. I'm gonna like just put everything into it, and yeah, that was just the way it was.
But I'm hearing I think it's grit that you were getting taught and had in you more than the competitiveness. I
Yeah,
think.
for
Like, to
sure.
me, it's like if you're gonna do it, I'm putting 100% in. So that's 100% in the preparation, and then hopefully the results fall in. But like, to me, the grits come in even before that. I guess it depends what motivates you, but motivates like fleeting. So it's kind of like if your dad was willing to do that, and dude, I have so many similarities. Like, my dad would work a full time job, then come back, then prep the mountain bikes. Then we'd hop in the car with a trailer and we'd drive 15 hours to up where Greg lived, and we'd do the national there. And he would drive through the night and go back to work on a Monday. Like those sort of stints where at the time that's just you as a family going to a race. And then you hit about 25. I feel like maybe hopefully a bit earlier for my parents' sake, where you start going, wow, they did a lot or they do a lot. And then now I've had a kid of my own. I'm like, this is insane what they did. Like, I'm
Yeah,
barely surviving changing nappies. Like,
yeah,
let alone when you go to work and then work on a motorcycle, learn that skill, I mean, it's just insane what parents do. And
yeah,
I'm hearing like they led by example, and you just, that's what you were taught. It's like the grit, the determination. They're like, okay, if we're doing something, that's fine as long as you do it 100%. And I got instilled that as well. Like, I wasn't in trouble if I got second or fifth. I was in trouble if I didn't put the work in because they were
yeah.
putting in so much.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a very accurate way to put it. I think I definitely developed grit early on. I think because I kind of had to, like my parents were doing it. That was the environment I was in. Um, my parents were very reasonable, but also I don't know if I would say strict. I think they were just wise in how they raised me. I was not allowed to like jack around. Like they gave me good freedom and I did what I want, but if I was an idiot with it, it would get taken away really fast. I remember like school was like, okay, we'll take you to all these races, do all this stuff. And for a couple of years, I homeschooled because I couldn't miss as many days as I needed to miss to go racing. But it was like you get A's and B's. If you get a C, the dirt bike stays in the garage and you don't ride anymore until you get an A or a B. And so I was a straight A student all through high school because I was like, I'm not even going to try to play that game. And I was honestly kind of the same with school. I was like, if I got to show up to this place for 6 or 8 hours a day or whatever it was, I don't want to like waste time. Even if I'm not going to use this stuff, I'm probably use some of it, but I'm like, I'm here. Just get an A. It's not that hard. It was like not that easy either, but it was like, just do your best and go home. Like, don't just waste time, like doing nothing and sitting around. Like I've always been pretty motivated. And my parents were always on me enough to where I wasn't allowed to like just slack and kind of not get crap done. And then yeah, motocross was the same thing. Like you always just had to work really hard for everything. I just remember everything always being like hard. Nothing was easy with racing. So even when I started winning, I never felt like I just settled into winning. It always felt like it'd be ripped away from you at any time. So I think that was kind of like maybe where some of the seriousness came in, was like you just felt like every race was a new fight to try to win. And I would say it took a lot of years for me to kind of like settle a little bit, but I still kind of have that in me. Like, and I don't want to sound like cocky or anything because I don't know, but I feel like genetics aside, I don't know that I would be the best basketball player in the world because I can't jump and I'm not that tall. But if you just line me up with another line of dudes and their physical strengths aside, if all things are equal, I believe like I'll just outlast everybody around me. Like I'll just grind myself into the ground until there's no one left. I'll be the last man standing. I can suffer like that. And then like I'll win. Like that was kind of where it was. Like I remember like every time we do a moto camp, all these other kids would come out and Mike would be like, all right, guys, you're going to go down to the neighborhood, run laps, come back at 7 o'clock, dinner will be ready, go run. And I would just suffer my brains out to be the dude at the front of that pack or second or third right there managing it. And when everybody else would stop and run back to the house, I'd just run like 5 more laps. Like they'd all leave and I'd just keep running laps and just show up 45 minutes late for dinner. Cause I'm like, I got to do more. Like I got to somehow find a way to be better. Like we don't have all the money or the best bikes or the whatever, but I can put in the effort that people won't put in. So I was just kind of old school like that, I guess, in my mentality. Still kind of am at times. I think, and when we talk about like what I'll miss about racing, it's a little bit of that. Like
It
I'm
will
gonna really
be.
miss like
You
competing
will,
like
man.
that. It's me, and whether it's just me and myself, like putting in that much effort, especially when it's like physical effort. Um, you don't get that doing other things, and that'll be fine when the time comes. But I know I'll miss it, so yeah, try to kind of appreciate that and enjoy it while I still got it a little bit.
Just like people sprinkling their homes, it's also a great time to reset your body and routine. Whether you're heading into warmer days or still shaking off winter, feeling good starts from the inside. And for me, that starts with AG1. I've always cared about my health, whether it was during my racing days or now, juggling travel, work, riding, the little one, and everything in between. But even with the best intentions, I don't always get the nutrition I need. That's why I love AG1. It's so easy. One scoop, I mix it up in 60 seconds, and boom, I'm covering my bases with 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and more. No more cabinets full of random supplements. I hate that. Just one simple habit that actually sticks. With daylight savings kicking in for some, those brighter mornings are a great time to dial in your routine. Whether you're waking up to crisp spring air or full blown summer heat like I am in South Africa, AG1 helps me shake off the grogginess and get going. Plus, it actually tastes good, which makes it easy to stay consistent. This time of year, we're all getting outside more, riding, traveling, just being more active. AG1 makes it simple to support my body, whether I'm at home or on the move with the travel packs. Listen to this, it's been tested for over 500 herbicides and pesticides, made with no artificial junk, and it's NSF certified for sport, so I trust what's going into my body. Best of all, there's a 90-day money back guarantee so you can try it risk free. Right now, you get a free bottle of vitamin D3K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs at a $48 value for free when you go to drinkag1.com/moving the needle or click the link in the show notes. That's drinkag1.com/moving the needle to simplify your routine and feel your best this season. Start with AG1. And you think like not making it at Moto, we said kind of maybe there's like this chip on your shoulder, but you felt like it could be taken away at any time, like even when you were winning these races. Is that subconsciously what was going on that drove you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a little bit of it. I mean, it's great you make 30 grand on a contract, but if you don't sign another contract, you're not retiring off of that. You're going to go straight back to work. Like that ain't going to get you very
Yeah,
far.
you are.
So for me, when I was winning a lot and dominating, like money always gets brought up. But to me, I was like, well, who else has been able to do what I've done? And in my mind, I was like, nobody. Like, and these are huge brands selling a ton of bikes and making a ton of money. So for me to get paid 50 grand doesn't make sense. Like I should get paid what is just appropriate as anybody that has a professional job would hope to do within a reasonable amount. So I don't believe I was being unreasonable. And I always felt like I delivered. Like someone would step up and pay me something, and then I would go and like win a race with no chain. Like you knew if you're going to hire me, like, dude, I'm going to ride it till the wheels fall off. I'm going to give you everything I got. And like you're going to sell bikes and we're going to win races. And if we don't, it definitely won't be for lack of effort. So I felt like in my integrity that it was well deserved just because it hadn't been talked about or whatever. And I think that was a little bit of it too, is like nobody talked about it. And I wanted it to be better for the riders. Like I know a lot of these guys, I know what they make. And I was just like, and I know the conversations they have with sponsors. And I know that these brands are juggling so many different things. I understand it more now than ever as a business owner. It's not easy. It's not hard to make things cool. But it's hard to make things cool and do things right and still be profitable. You can go hire the big name, but if you don't have the business plan to support it, it is going to cost a lot of money. So I understand the struggles on both sides, but it was like, I wanted to make it better for the riders. So I wanted to be a bit more outspoken about it. I wanted like there to kind of be some numbers people could maybe work off when they went to negotiate contracts. Because for us, like at the end of the day, it's a short career. It's dangerous. It's a lot of hard work. Um, and if you don't kind of get it while the getting's good, so to speak, like, dude, you sacrifice a lot of time and risk and effort to kind of just be in a spot where you're like, well, that was a cool experience. Like, I'm basically starting over again 10 years later now. And it's like, even now, like I've done really good in my career, but it's like it could all be over tomorrow and you're like, well, now what do you have? So I think for me, like I was fighting for a life, for a like my value, because I felt it was well deserved. And like I wanted to, like, I worked so hard for so long to get there, like I didn't want to like not take advantage of it. So the money was purely a reflection of just where I believe my value was. I'm content with very little if that's what life looks like. But if my value is there, then I just want to get as close to my value as I could get it. So that was it's always kind of been my perspective.
Yeah, I like the word value. I think that's fair. And, in every other industry, almost, the numbers are out in the open, and these contracts have these clauses where you can't speak about it. But we're all speaking about it after the race, or if you have mates in the industry, and I know PD and Manar and that Palmer industry, they would speak about it. And then the Aussies didn't know anything and were probably bringing down the salary base a bit. And then some of them got help with like, no, this is what I was getting with those results. And like, dude, it adds a lot of pressure for you to be outspoken from the media, number one, but more like if you're like, I demand your fair value, then you got to deliver, you know?
Yeah.
So I respect that a lot. And I think it's pretty silly that it's not out there in the open,
Yeah.
like we're risking life and limb. And there was a time I think I was two top tens in the World Cup and then signed a contract. And I was making far less than a mechanic because he was US. And this is no hard feelings towards him. He is doing a full time job and more. But because he was a US citizen, he got like a normal basic wage, which was more than my contract. And I'm
Yeah.
like, but I'm the dickhead riding down the hill. And as you say, it could end from an injury, it could end when they stop the contract, and like that's not fair value, is it?
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Yeah, it's a tricky business for sure. I think people don't really maybe understand from the outside looking in like what sponsorship really is and how that works all the way. I was just chatting with somebody about this the other day, but even from a brand perspective, it's some brands are different. You know, if you sign with, let's say, Yeti, and there's maybe a little bit of that because Conroy's kind of stepping back, but or like Crestline, for example, like Troyden is the guy at Crestline. If you ride a Crestline, you will talk directly to Troyden. He's literally pretty much the only guy there. And he will like he'll negotiate. That'll be your contact. And there's brands that are like that. You know, Yeti with Chris Conroy and Hoog was always like that. If you're going to call and ask for a contract or chat with those guys, you're just going to talk to Boss Man and he'll sort it out. Like he is the guy. He's the person. If he wants to do it, he'll spend the money and make it happen. And a lot of brands are like that, but a lot of brands aren't. A lot of brands, you're negotiating your contract with whoever their sports marketing guy is. You're not like, you're almost disconnected from the brand, you know, in ways it's like if the sports marketing guy likes you and likes downhill and understands its value specifically, because a lot of these brands are into so many different things. Downhill is just like a segment of it. So if you sign on with a brand where like you're the sports marketing guy like understands you, understands, you know, the sport and the value you bring, and they're all fired up and they're like, yeah, it's gonna be the best thing, and you sign on, and they leave halfway through your contract and they bring somebody in from like Reebok or something that like doesn't know mountain biking, doesn't know who you are. It's like your relationship with a brand can change so fast because it's just whoever that person is in that role. And those guys tend to a lot of times change around a lot. So it's like you might sign on with a brand under a certain kind of like understanding and vibe, and by the time your contract's over 2 years later, you're like, dude, this is a totally different brand because like the person that I signed on with doesn't work there anymore. It's another person, and the brand is more focused on road racing now or something different. And it's like, so there's so many variables. So it's like when you're going to sign a contract, it's like, man, you got to make the most of it because things come and go so fast. Like brand loyalty, in the perfect world, dude, I would love to sign for a brand when I signed on and just have the dream team of people and never change one sponsor or one thing ever, and always like be on a good page, like getting paid your value, having brands you love, like doing the thing. But it's just not really reality. Like there's a business aspect to it that brands change, their desires change, riders' desires change, sports marketing guys change. Like there's so many moving pieces that you're just like, you got to do what's best for you just as brands have to do what's best for them. So it's not like a weird like, oh, there's hard feelings, I can't believe they didn't do this for me or do that. It's like, dude, that's just the game. Like look at any
Yeah.
sport, this is just unfortunately how things go. So yeah, but it is a little different. I think you would understand that from a unique perspective, you know, when you get in like kind of the behind the scenes workings. It's yeah, if you have an opportunity to take advantage of something and you feel that it's deserving, it's like you got to go for it. And you know, it's not personal. You got to make the decisions you believe are best, because at any moment it could be over and you're back to square one, figuring it all out. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been preached loyalty, and then when it comes back, you're hoping for a bit of loyalty. It's just not there. I've definitely gone home
yeah,
after the year without a bike. Like all
yeah.
these things have happened, and I'll still share a beer or dinner with these people because some of it's just business. And like you say, certain budget was put in place, and someone's the messenger, and they got to deliver the messenger, and it is how it is. But I've always been interested with your success. Do you think sometimes it's brought more opportunities that sometimes have complicated things? Like you've tested a lot of tires, and like I know you like doing a lot of development, but at some point, will you look back and go, okay, look, hindsight's a perfect science, but some of those relationships change, like you say.
Hmm.
But do you think it's quite difficult when people are wanting the best rider at the time on their brand, because then they're going to offer money, they're going to offer promises, and maybe they don't always work out? Like, I don't know this except by asking you, like, what was it like for you and having sometimes maybe more opportunities than it was probably worth it?
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's a tricky balance. I'll give you an example. When I signed with YT, nobody had ever heard of YT, hardly, myself included, outside of Cams Inc. at Rampage. I was like, oh, the free ride brand thing, right? Like, do they make a downhill bike? Like, okay. I
Direct to
didn't know.
consumer. Yeah.
They came to me, totally new thing, had no idea. Long story short, rode the bike, loved it, signed with YT. At the same time, signed with TRP Brakes, which is Tektro. Nobody knew TRP was a brake company in mountain biking, pretty much. Signed with Onza Tires. Nobody, I don't think, really knew of them. All at the same time. Like the three probably most important parts of your bike outside of suspension would be components, tires, frame. Nobody had ever heard of any of these brands. And when I did all the testing, the product I was kind of like whatever on. I did like the frame a lot, which was important because you can't easily change those when they're carbon frames. The brakes and the tires, I liked the people that were at the brands. I felt that the people that worked there would be able to make the changes I needed to get the product where it wanted. Like it wasn't, between John and I, my mechanic at the time, John Hall, he's been huge in helping me with so many things throughout my career on the part side. We've always been pretty confident. It doesn't matter if a brand comes to you with absolute garbage. If you guys have the capabilities to make what I need you to make and you will take the feedback that we give you, we can make the best product or make product that will be equal to the best. As long as you guys know how to take the feedback and turn that into what I'm looking for, like I have enough information and John collectively that it's like not a mystery what a good tread pattern on a tire needs to look like. I can draw it on a napkin in about 10 seconds. Like right now, I'll even give you 5 options. Pick one. I don't care. They're all going to be good. I know how wide
True.
it needs to be. I know the shape. I know the compact. Like it's not hard. So for me, I'm like, as long as I feel I can trust you guys to take the feedback and just please give me what I want, this will be a tire that I can win on. I know what I like. So with TRP and with Onza, I felt that they had the guys that could deliver. The product wasn't quite there when I signed on, but I was confident that they could deliver on that product with their capabilities of manufacturing and all that kind of stuff. And they did. We showed up. We won the first race on a bunch of parts no one had never heard of. So it was then the next year, we kind of did the same thing with Kenda. And or years later, 3 years later, I guess, whenever, maybe it was more than that. I don't remember. And there's a whole behind the scenes story I won't go into on Onza. I love those guys, and they really got the short end of a few things that were happening at the time. I would have loved to stay with them, but it just didn't work out. But anyways, we went with Kenda, a great group of guys, a bigger company. They have more manufacturing abilities than Onza did for sure. Really cool guys. They came in and it was same thing. Like when you're looking at it from a career standpoint, if you got brands like Maxxis and some of these brands, they already have good products. They already have good riders. They'll pay a decent amount, but like they're already established. They don't need to put themselves on the map. So usually the paychecks kind of reflect that. Whereas if you get a brand that's like, hey, we're kind of like nobody, we're looking to be the brand now, and you're the guy we're going to pick to basically give us all that feedback and marketing and race wins and, blah, 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 to be the brand, like that's worth a lot of money because you're trying to put your name on the map, so to speak. So in those positions, brands will come in and offer a lot of money, and it takes a lot of money because to me, there's a risk. It's like I can just go sign with this brand, and I know the tires are going to be pretty decent or the brakes or whatever. But for me, I'm also looking for an advantage. And at the time when I signed with Onza, for example, I was riding Maxxis DHR tires, and they're a great tire, but I knew for sure I could make a better tire, and I knew exactly what I wanted. So when Anze came to me, I'm like, hey, here's the tire. I literally drew it on a notepad on one of those hotel like bedside notepads or whatever.
No
I was
way.
at a hotel, drew it on there and sent him a photo. And I was like, this is what I want. I knew how to make the DHR2 a better tire, especially for a front tire. So I'm like, I'm going to give you guys the product that's going to be better than the best tire on the market. At least I was confident I would do that, and it would be a better tire for me. But like, no offense, but I just met you guys, and like you're looking into their product history and you're looking in their manufacturing and you're talking to them about timelines. How long does it take if you got to make a change? What, all the details. And, I was confident they could do it, but it's like, but I'm taking a risk. And right now, you don't have that tire. So if you guys want me to put in all this effort and time to build your brand, basically market it and try to go win on this new product, like you have to compensate me for it. Like, I'm not going to switch brands for the same amount of money and take all this risk, because if it doesn't work out, like, doesn't work out. So, to get back to your original question, it's a hard one because there's two sides. There's some things that I know for sure not having the right products cost me race wins and cost me championships and opportunities and even crashes in some spots where I'm like, I don't think I would have crashed if I would have had what I needed. Um, so on one hand, you're like, dang, like as the competitor, you're like, I would really like to have those wins on the board. I don't have more wins than Greg right now. And I feel like I should. And it's like, but I don't. And did some of that maybe cost me? It's like, maybe. But eventually you're also going to retire and you're going to have a family. I have a wife right now. We have business. And when you stop racing, people aren't lining up to just like give you things for free. You got to earn every single dollar. So if you're looking at your bank account and it's a difference between 500,000 and $1 million by the time you retire, which one was the better call? I don't know. Like $1 million, if you think about it, could be 3 rental properties and probably bring in, I don't know, 6 to 10 grand a month, maybe. That is kind of
4% rule in a million, you can retire, my man. I've done the
right.
maths.
So a
You're all
million
good.
bucks
I've done
is
the
the
maths.
difference in potentially retiring or not retiring, right? So it's
Yeah.
like when you look at it, you're like, dang, would I rather have 4 or 5 more wins or $1 million so that I could retire and and enjoy life or be able to provide for my family more? So when you're weighing the options, it's not that you just chase the money or you just go the product. In my position, you're trying to weigh both, and with YT, I'm like, well, I just did it with YT with all these brands. Why couldn't I do it again? And some brands just execute a little bit better than other brands, and that's part of the game. So some of the risk you take, but those are the things that I always factored in my head. I think people thought like, oh, he's just doing this or doing that, but I'm just trying to be realistic about the situation and what life is going to look like the next 20 years. I know how much I sacrificed for the last 20 years to get to where I'm at. I know how quick it can be gone. I could be in a hospital tomorrow laid up and not ever do this again. So when you're negotiating contracts, there's a lot of different factors that go into making the decisions that you make. And that's just the way it goes.
Mate, thanks for sharing it because I didn't know all those processes, right? And I agree, like it's not just like he chased the paycheck. That's why I asked, like, what were those opportunities like? Because unless you are the person that sees the contract with the number on it and the opportunities and the promises, and you take the risk, they've said X on the timeline, you're
Yep.
damn well hoping it is X, but it's
Yep.
probably going to be Y, and you want to have sort of a backup plan. So yeah, man, I don't think people should judge, and I think it comes with age until you've walked a day in their shoes. Like, okay, what are you solving for? Like you say, you might have had more wins than Craig, but does that matter when you're on your porch with grandkids running around? It
Yep.
100% doesn't.
For
But
sure.
if you've wanted to create a lifestyle and a retirement plan, sure does. So yeah, it's so cool to hear that because I think you have to sit there and go. Same as like you probably watch like the Live and PGA Tour politics, right?
Mm,
And everyone's
yeah.
got an opinion. It's like,
I
dude,
hate
until
that
you the
stuff.
guy
Yeah.
staring the contract in the face,
Yep.
then you can make a decision. And if you want to have a moral high ground on money or something, like it's easy for Tiger or Rory to have that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just playing for legacy. It's like that's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Um, and your background shows me where your priorities are. You like
Yeah.
maybe want to have a different upbringing for your kids or give them even
Hmm.
more opportunities. I think we all do.
For sure.
So yeah, that's super interesting. And like you say, you took a risk on some and they didn't work out. Sometimes
Yep.
out of your control.
Yep. Yeah, and you take a risk on some, and they really do work out. They're awesome, and you have the Onza tire until the tire I'm on right now. It was my favorite tire of all time, and I made a bunch of money riding that tire. And the same with TRP and these other brands. And if you talk to Greg and a lot of these guys, they're in the same spot. Like they would have been a lot of things that they were trying to juggle. I think Greg should have a lot more wins than he has as well. Like I've seen him just barely miss a lot of races or have injuries or certain things. So you're going to find a similar story across a lot of people. And we're not talking about 5 or 10 grand. I mean, sometimes these contracts, one contract would be a difference of $350,000 in 1 year.
Really,
So
in
you're
1 year
looking at this
difference,
contract and
not
you're
total,
like,
the difference.
the difference. And one contract, like not
Yeah,
all of
that
my contracts, one. So if you're looking at a contract for a certain part and one says 50 grand and the other one says 250 grand per year
yeah,
and it's a 3-year
yeah,
deal, you're like,
yeah,
can you guys give me what I need? And if they're like, yes, we'll give you exactly what you need. We're not only throwing money at you, we're throwing like the entire company's support behind what you need. Give us a chance. And you're like, dude, like, it's tough. Like, but like you said, at some point it's all going to be over. And, you know, Lauren's right here next to me. Like, I want to provide for her family, the whole thing. Like, she wasn't in the picture back then for some of those contracts, but I always wanted it to come. And like, I'm like, no offense. I love y'all. Y'all are great. The industry has been good to me. I got a lot of friends, but like, I'm also cool on my porch in Montana with my family and closest friends, and like, high five. I'll be in the mountains riding my bike. See you later. Like, I don't feel like I have something I owe. I think people can see the passion I have for the sport. It's not faked. We put a lot of work into this. So it's like, as much as I like, I hope people are like understanding of what I do. At the same time, like, I don't really care. Like, I just make the decisions I feel like are best for me and my life and family and all the factors involved, and you just got to be content with that and call it a day. So but it's not easy, man. It's hard. Like, I've had some brands, people, the guys at Onza, I'm still really tight with those guys. Love those guys. Same with E13. Joel at E13's been with me for, dude, I don't even know now, like almost my whole career probably. HT pedals, like, I have these brands I've been with for so long, and you build these relationships with people that are so good. And when things come to a head, it's like, yeah, it sucks when you got to leave some of those relationships, but you also just got to do what's best for you. And I think, yeah, that's just part of any professional sport, probably.
yeah, and it just is cutthroat, right? Because there's just this timeline on a career, right?
Yeah.
And brands are often looking for like the next up and comer that's going to be cheaper,
Yeah.
but that comes with risks as well. Like I've said it on the pod, I'm like, you can go and invest in the cheaper guy, but when it gets when it gets tough out there, you want the experience, you want the Gwins, you want the Troy, you want the Greg, because
Yeah.
that's when they perform, or that you at least like stack the deck in your favor that they'll perform more consistently. I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you build an image, you try to build a trust over time. I try to be very careful with my words when I'm promoting products and stuff. Like, if I love a tire, like I just mentioned the E13 tire, that I'm on right now. It's the new one we've been developing, new casing, compound, tread pattern. It's my favorite tire I've ever been on. And like, if I say this is my favorite tire I've ever been on, that's accurate. I wouldn't lie about that. If we're working on a tire that is not my favorite tire and is not doing very good, I will say I'm really excited about the potential of where we're going, because usually we're working on something new. And my hope is to make this the best performing tire I've ridden, and I'm happy with the progress we're making so far, and we're going to keep working on it or whatever. So I try to be very honest with my feedback always, because I don't want to just be like, I love this if it sucks. I'll be like, I love the brand. I love what we're trying to do. We got some work to do, but I believe we can get there. You know what I mean? So it's, if you can build some brand, you build a reputation of being honest with the products you create, the feedback you give, then fans can like trust you. They don't know, like, even if I'm switching brands or whatever, I'm not just like, this is the best thing. Well, now this is the best thing. And now,
Yeah,
it's
like
like,
which one is it?
you try to be genuine. And I think over time people see that, your integrity. And I think that equates to a lot of value as well, because there's a lot of riders that can win races and hold a product up and no one's going to buy them. It's just how it goes. It takes years, or it takes a certain person maybe to like actually move the needle a little bit, no pun intended. it
All pun intended. Well done,
Yeah.
dude. Cheers for the shout
So
out.
it's how there's a lot of things now. We got social media and all kinds of other things that come into adding value. So if you can kind of check all those boxes, you become very valuable to brands. So it's great. And I want to be, man. These brands sacrifice a lot for me. They spend a lot of money. I hate when I'm not able to deliver. Like, I hate that I was never able to win a World Cup for Intense. Like, that really bugs me. They've invested a lot into me. I think we made some mistakes along the ways, and there's a lot of things that happened that were kind of out of both of our control that I believe led to that. That was just the way it goes. But I hate that I've been hurt as much as I've been hurt the last 5 years and haven't been able to pull through and get the results. It's definitely not for lack of effort, but as a competitor, that irritates me. But I've also been around long enough where you go through streaks where things go your way and sometimes they don't. And it's like, regardless of how much effort you put in, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I always say that just because you work hard, you're not owed success. And that's definitely, I think it makes it much more likely. But um, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I'm always going to fight for the brands that fight for me and give it my best shot. And I think I've delivered more than I haven't. And when I don't take it lightly. You know, like I wake up and I work really hard every day. I try to do the best I can with what I have. Um, and so, yeah, I think that's been a reflection of, maybe why I've done as well as I've done throughout my career.
Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. There is a ton more to check out, so make sure you check back in next week for episode 2 with the legend Aaron Gwin. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure you share it with a friend and hit that subscribe button.